Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers pre-match analysis and taking a look at the squads over here. I have my morning coffee buddy, I was going to say, but he's more of like a gin buddy. Mecca with us. Mecca, what's happening, man?
Gin.
Gin
That's
is
about it.
happening, yes.
No, not much. Looking forward to this game. Actually, it's nice to get into the midweek games a bit now for us in America, where it's midday. Get a half day off work. Get to watch Liverpool. Doesn't get much better than that.
Sounds like a very personal statement. Anybody who's listening, they're like, yeah, maybe for you, jerk, while they're stuck at work trying to sneak it in over the
It's
phone or something like that.
fantastic. They should all try it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I think that has been one of the biggest things from working from home has been not missing a game ever. So here is the lineup. Second verse, same as the first. Happy. What do you say about this? I mean, did you want? I saw this lineup and I can just feel like Galley's blood pressure going up as he looks at the lineup because I don't, he was talking a lot about like the rotation and stuff like that. But what do you say to it?
I mean, we would like to see Simicast come in for Robertson at the left, just if nothing else, than to give Robertson a break. But having said that, we won the last game 9-0. So, you kind of leave the dance with the partner you brought, so to speak. So we did well with that. Maybe do you want to go again, see how it works? If it doesn't, we change it for the next game. But I mean, it's a solid enough team, as solid as we can get right now. Fabinho hopefully informed. Elliott continuing how well he played the other day. Henderson is just Henderson. He's out on the left-ish, so we'll expect him to, not be as, not that he's a majorly creative player, but not won't not be as creative as he would be on the right side. Salah, we can only kind of hope that he has a shooting boots today, because there's no guarantee we'll get a high scoring game such as the 9-0 against Bournemouth. For me now, Diaz. I really want to see Diaz again. I think he's going to score again, but not necessarily the first goal. But you could see a Van Dijk goal from a corner or something like that for the first goal. But what's possibly going to happen is looking at the Newcastle starting Isaac up front. I mean, that's one of those fairy tale stories almost in the cards.
It's kind of semi-shocking, isn't it, to see him out there right away? I mean, it was more of like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? And then suddenly he shows up. So as I try to bring it on the screen over here, but so let's go back to what you were talking about us first. Do you see us? So, I mean, the dogs wanted me to ask you, are they looking like a high treat day where it's going to be a pretty open game, or do you expect Newcastle to not pull a Bournemouth and sit back a little bit more? How brave are they going to be?
I don't know if they're however brave they are, they'll never be as brave as England's brave Scotty Parker, who's now unemployed enough to be brave 24 hours a day. Not that brave. But it's Eddie Howe. He's kind of like Rodgers. He's kind of like Potter as well. He has his way of playing and he doesn't really deviate too much from that. So I can see they could see them going for the game a little bit, maybe not leaving as many spaces as Bournemouth, and obviously having a lot more faith in their coach than the Bournemouth players ever seem to have in Scott Parker. But it's not going to be a 9-0 by any stretch. Maybe a 3-1, 3-0 kind of a game, 2-0 kind of a game.
When you look at, by the way, Newcastle, that's midfield. I mean, is it just Joelinton that we have to mainly worry about, do you think? Get him an early yellow card to take his physicality out of the game and then make the game a bit more smooth sailing? Because, I mean, I look at that and they have transformed him into like a solid player that's kind of like physically intimidating, but still skilled on the ball as well. I mean, when I compare midfields, because, that's where our, I guess, weakness is right now in terms of like depth and like, having hands on deck. Is that like the biggest worry there in terms of their midfield?
I would never be afraid of a player who sounds like a character from Wuthering Heights, to be fair. So you should really take that into account. But yeah, he looks like the only midfielder. I mean, like they have character from Wuthering Heights on one side, player with unfortunate sounding rhyming name Joe Willock on the other side, and then somebody who really should be called the human tripod, Sean Longstaff in the middle, appropriately. There's nothing to be afraid of in that midfield. There's no, they almost have the same problem as us. I think they've no creativity. There's nobody in there that you're going to say is going to invent a goal out of nowhere. So it could be a war of attrition in the middle of the field, just pressure after pressure after pressure, tackle after tackle, with maybe, as I said, like Harvey Elliott being the difference maker in the midfield battles. Up front for us against their back four, though, I think Luis Diaz is going to have Trippier for toast for his breakfast. I think he's going to have him inside out.
Is that the key matchup, you think? I mean, if you had to pick one player that you need a solid performance from, I mean, I'm going to ask this. It's a pre-match. I always ask you this. Like, pick one guy that you're like, hey, we need a good game from him.
Luis Diaz against Trippier.
Okay.
That's the one I'm looking at. Because if he doesn't track him, I think Trippier is fairly attacking. If I remember, I haven't seen him since
he does, but I mean, he's kind of experienced enough to know his capabilities in terms of, like when to push up if he's not going to be able to track back and stuff. He's one of those guys where I think he has the experience to play. He's not the fastest, so that's where you have like the Diaz advantage, I think. But at the same time, it's kind of a guy who, knows that he's not the fastest when he plays and plays accordingly.
Well, I mean that difference alone is probably what I would look for, is just Diaz can separate from him at will. It doesn't matter whether he goes forward or stays back and defends. Diaz will have him over 5 yards. Like by the 5th yard, by the 5th step, Diaz is gone. If he cuts inside, he has Lascelles to deal with. I don't think he's a nothing defender. A whole bunch of nothing, as they say, in my part of the world. So I'm thinking of maybe the biggest battle won't be Luis Diaz against Trippier or Lascelles. It'll be Luis Diaz against Nick Pope in goal. That could be the big battle. If Nick Pope is up to the long shots, it could be frustrating for Diaz. If he's not, it could be his first hat-trick.
I'm hoping Bobby can mess with those center backs. I mean, Dan Burn, the human mountain over there, could have been more effective against maybe like a Nunez, for example. But I don't know if he's going to keep chasing around Bobby. If Bobby moves those guys around, I think he might open up some space for like Diaz and Mo to kind of like run into. So the biggest difference, obviously, that your starting 11 is the same, but we have a few more adults on the bench compared to last week. Need the glasses out to zoom in, man. So what do you say? I mean, do you think we even see a sighting, or those guys are just bodies on the bench, or do we get them some minutes in expectation of the weekend game coming up? And it's an early game coming up with against an Everton that had an extra day off, which, with their squad, they can have 3 days off, I guess, but still.
Well, to be fair, I watched that game yesterday. If Everton need that extra day, they were run off their feet against Leeds yesterday. It was a fantastic neutral game, and like Leeds did a great job pressing. And if we put that, which is our intensity, like there's absolutely not a shock that Jesse Marsh has spent time in that part of the world coaching. Like he's picked up a lot of great ideas, but our quality in terms of how we press and what we can do with the ball when we win it, looking ahead to Everton, means that we should be in a good spot for this game. I can imagine we would see Milner, possibly Tsimikas, probably Tsimikas actually, maybe Matip coming in just to give him a run out. I don't know who. I don't think we ever go for 5 subs with Klopp, do we? Maybe a 4th one. Did
we go last week? We did do it last week because we were like, hey, even if somebody gets injured, he always likes to keep one in the pocket in case of an injury. But I think when it was like 7-0, he was able to roll the dice. And
I don't think we'll see. I mean, it's Klopp. The great thing about Klopp is he's always unpredictable, but I don't think we'll see Bajcetic today, say, for example. We might not see Carvalho until like the last minute, 5 minutes, like a time-wasting sub. But having said that, I was just thinking about this the other day. I'd actually like to see Carvalho in Firmino's place. I'd like to see that sub. Carvalho or Firmino off, Carvalho on, because I think he could play the same role. I think that's probably why he's brought in. But I'd like to see it against Dan Burn for especially because he's the kind of player you want, a mobile technical player to go up
Yeah.
against for a bit of experience, because he's not going to give you too many problems, and he's probably going to kick the crap out of you to try and compensate, which you have to learn how to deal with. So it'd be a great education either way. So, but yeah, I don't think I think we'll see the stalwarts coming in preparation for the Everton game.
I just think, like, I don't know how much rotation you're gonna get out of, Bobby on a game like this, and knowing, Nunez will be able to come back this weekend and he'll be well rested, and he'll be, so, if you even if you had a lead and I think you were trying to rest somebody, I almost feel like it would be similar to last week where it would be Elliott for Carvalho and Carvalho coming in. Like I say, I think neither of us are expecting a game like that where we're going to get the blowout that we got last time. But by the way, before I forget, for those listening right now, today is the last day for the giveaway. All you have to do is go to our YouTube page, YouTube American Scouser, and subscribe. And once you subscribe, you're automatically qualified to win. We're giving away 3 of these sets. Today is the last day. We will announce the winners tomorrow. And since we're just starting out, everybody has a pretty darn good shot at winning this. But except you, obviously, Mecca, you can't win this. But yeah, go to YouTube, American Scouser page, subscribe over there, and then you're qualified. Boom, you're right in it. Michael Martin says, I just hope the match can be under control so the subs can get 25 plus minutes. And I think, yeah, that's going to be key, especially with the issues we have. I mean, that was probably one of the best things that we got out of the Bournemouth, aside from the 9 goals and like that comfortable win, was a chance to get some rest to these guys heading into this game. And obviously now we're every 3 days, every 4 days game zone. Do you anticipate that happening?
It really depends how the game goes. I mean, we have to catch up to. I want to say we want to catch up to City, but we have to catch up to Arsenal as well as they're doing, because they could get a bit of momentum behind them. So we want to keep pace with that. So I think if the game is tight, we'll see very conservative subs and late in the game unless it's needed. If we do have a bit of a cushion, like maybe 3, maybe 4.
Man, you guys are freaking optimistic. I'll tell you that. That's why I love hanging out with you guys.
It's the
gin. Yeah. It's the optimist.
It's
the gin.
Mid-afternoon gin. No, I don't think. I think it was just a good fortune on Saturday that we had such a great scoreline that Klopp probably didn't intend to play to sub in who he subbed in. Saw the opportunity and said, well, we'll go for that now. But 25 plus minutes for a lot of subs, I don't think is going to happen unless we're well ahead or shockingly well behind. Which is not going to happen.
Why would you even throw that out in the universe? By the way, Alan Warnock says
it's the gin.
It is the gin again. He says you would make a good referee. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. You take it the way you want to take it.
Terrible referee. Poor 5-year-olds didn't know what was happening at all. Like, get up, you whinger. Not even a red card.
I think Alan is looking at the quality of refereeing and thinking even a guy who's drinking gin walking around could do the same job. So just nominating you to do the referee gig, which
as long
I
as
can see happening
in the correct direction of which goal I was supposed to run at, I was okay.
See, with Arsenal, before you abandoned me in the morning coffee shows, I was talking about one thing with Arsenal is going to be once the Thursday games start. I think that's what's going to make it challenging for them and could cause them to start dropping points, because that rest is not enough to be able to come back to a weekend and keep the intensity maybe until Thursday. And it is the Europa. You do get a bit more of a chance to rotate. But man, as injuries happen and things like that happen, I think that will be something that will hold them back a little bit, just those Thursday games alone. But yeah, they have definitely been impressive. They are playing right now, correct? Did they already start or they're about to start? They did already start against Gerrard's Villa. Should be like an interesting game to watch, but obviously we're not going to be taking a look at that. City Forest, I was kind of predicting mauling on that one, just having seen Forest's games so far. Do you see, I mean, I don't, but do you see either of those guys losing points today? Arsenal against Villa and City
I'm
against
just
Forest?
looking at the City game and the stats. It's 83% possession to City. Forest are they're going straight back down. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, they did
Villa,
not.
Villa probably going to lose to Arsenal, I think, and then Gerrard. I think the rumor is, and I thought of this before already. Like the rumor is that Gerrard gets sacked and Villa go for Rodgers, which leaves everybody's problems in those two clubs. I think that's what's going to happen fairly quickly. I think you're right about Arsenal in the Thursdays. We saw that with Leicester. Speaking of which, not bashing Brendan Rodgers. And West Ham as well last year. Those Thursday games really are a killer for if you don't have the squad to rotate it. But yeah, now City, it should be a handy win. Probably another hat trick for Haaland. Arsenal Villa probably a 2-0. Arsenal, Bournemouth, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolves will probably win. It'll be 1-0. It'll be Jimenez will score the goal, and then he'll run out to the crowd. He'll run right over to the Bournemouth crowd, and then he'll pull off his mask, and it'll be England's brave Scotty Parker all along, getting his revenge.
That's like a really bad Scooby Doo episode, by the way. But
That'd be the best
it was
Scooby-Doo
Parker
episode.
all along.
West Ham Spurs, like it's Spurs. That's a Spurs win, I think. West Ham are really getting a hangover, and Leicester, like from last year. It's that they're nowhere near the heights that they were last year. So I think you're right about Arsenal. Thursday games are going to have an effect when they start coming thick and fast.
Yeah, going back to Forest, having seen, they beat West Ham, but anybody who watched that game, it was kind of hard not to root for Nottingham Forest because of like the atmosphere they had and stuff like that. But really, they had no business winning that game overall, I thought, and they ended up getting those 3 points. But yeah, it does not look good for them. So, are you shocked? We had the race going when we were talking on the morning shows between Rodgers and Fat Frank. And Scott Parker comes out of nowhere, makes one statement, loses 9-0, and takes the lead, and is the first one to get canned. Shocked to see that happen, knowing, is it just basically what he said? Or because if you go by the scores, I understand 9-0 is horrific, but the dude at Southampton has survived 2 of those. So is it more what he said, you think, or the poor run? Because really the fixtures they've had have been rough ones. So that seems to be harsh if it is based on the run of games and their like scoreline.
I think it's probably based on the fact that he looks like a Nazi baddie from an Indiana Jones film, and they just decided they didn't like him anymore.
It's the cardigan.
Bad luck. But no, I'm not surprised at all. I think as much as he got them up, you can't. For those teams, they have to hit the ground running in their first season in the Premier League. Because we've seen it, we've had enough seasons now at this point. What is it, 30 seasons, 29 seasons of the Premier League. We've seen teams come up. We've seen teams come up through the playoffs. We've seen all sorts of different shenanigans for how the teams come up from the championships. And the ones that get relegated start badly. And they don't fix it quick enough. And then they just get caught in like chasing everybody else's tail for the rest of the season. And I think from the board's point of view, they probably saw that. They were like, we're up here again. We don't want to have parachute payments again and maybe be stuck all over again.
Yeah.
Scott Parker suffers from the fact that he's Scott Parker, but also that he's not Eddie Howe, because Eddie Howe really did a fantastic job building like the structure of that club. And there's probably a bit of buyer's remorse almost from the board at Bournemouth, because I can imagine Parker came in and ripped up a lot of that, as most managers would do. They want to come in, they want to bring their own philosophy in. And so they're probably looking at, maybe some coach that's like Eddie Howe, probably some continental coach or something like that, or a Scandinavian one like Frank from Brentford. Not Fat Frank.
Yeah.
Skinny Frank.
From
Brentford.
I'm hoping if a good result. Today's win, once we win this game, and let's hope we will, going into Everton, maybe a good score over there could put Fat Frank in the unemployment line too. You never know. But I want to get back to this game. How important is it, you think, for Bobby to have another game like that Just in our Discord fan channel right now, they were, there was a sharing of like some of the new like fans who really want to sue Nunez, almost disappointed that Bobby had the game that he had. This could include maybe like Gally that we always give him shit for, like about like Bobby. But how important is it, you think, for him to like have a repeat showing that that's his spot?
No, I mean it's hugely important, and for the fact that Nunez is available again, he probably wants to be putting in those performances consistently. If he can't score the goal, I think I said before, his goal production has been going down through the years, but his assists has been fairly consistent and consistently high. He can't play, I don't think, when Nunez is playing unless he has some weird position change and becomes the new number 8 or something like that. Which I would like to see, because I like those kind of adventurous moves. But if Nunez is on the field, he's not on the field, so he really has to do better than Nunez. So he has to really start forming bonds with Diaz for a start, because he's now the danger player. It's not Salah. People they're doubling up on Salah, they're killing his space, and he's not moving off the wing. Probably tactically, he's not the free flowing, free moving player he was before. So he's limited in what he can do. So Diaz is the man now. So he has to link up with him a lot better, in the way that he used to link up with Salah. I was watching some YouTube clip there the other day of like Salah Firmino combinations when Salah first came to the club, and they were glorious. Like some of the little back heels and flicks he did to set Salah up for easy goals was great. So I'd love to see that again, because Liverpool benefits either way. Like we can't really care about whether Nunez is playing or not, if we're successful with what we're doing. But he definitely has to, because Nunez is hot on his trail now.
One thing I was thinking about, like, it's funny you mentioned about like Mo almost like sticking to the sideline way too much at times, and it has to be by design, because it's been like game after game after game, and Haaland has already scored versus Forest. I feel like that game is going to be ugly. I don't know if it's Bournemouth ugly, but it will be ugly. But
well, I mean, if you look at the Forest manager, it's definitely ugly before the kickoff as well. Never seen a bloke so sleepy.
Man, yeah, I miss you in the mornings, because I don't go around sharing this many insults. I need somebody else to share it. So I mean, but that's the thing. Even though he is on the sides, I mean, you look at, he has still gotten into certain spots where he's missed, chances. I mean, what was that Robertson's cross that he almost like tapped in last game? He's been in these situations, but you think Mo likes being way too to the sideline if it is tactical? And it has to be tactical, because like I say, we've been seeing it over and over and over again. It's not like, oh, they pushed him, he was trying to create space or something like that.
Well, we know for certain, we know almost as like Klopp doesn't have any hidden depths. What you see with Klopp is pretty much what you're going to get with Klopp. So if Mo wasn't doing what Klopp wanted, Klopp would be shouting at him all the time. We know that. He'd be screaming at him, and he'd be doing the hand gestures and all that. So definitely by design. But you kind of have to wonder, like, I do remember when Salah was first talked about way back in 2012, 2013 or 2013-14, that he was unhappy being restricted as a winger in Chelsea or whoever, where I think it was Roma he went to. He liked that free flowing movement. That and we're not going to get the best out of him if we don't allow him to do that. More so because he's on the right. He's a left-footed winger on the right. It doesn't make any sense. He'd be better off putting him on the left then and Diaz on the right, and then putting Nunez in the middle. So you have two traditional wingers putting crosses into Nunez's head. So I mean, I'm sure he's frustrated, but his game that he's based like his goal scoring off for the past few years is not there right now, because he's been asked to do things that he hasn't done for a long, long time. So you kind of have to wonder whether it's like almost a cynical, like, we've paid you that money, you're going to do what the hell we say. I like it.
But now that you signed that, here's the catch. I mean, I think he almost likes that in a way, and I do like. That's why I think when Elliott is in there, over time, if we can improve that, like the triangle they keep setting up over there, we were doing it beginning of last year. I know at that time Mo wasn't as wide. It would be usually Trent that would be the wide one, and now we see Trent more doing the inside run and Mo staying outside. But I think it creates, because you had like a different dynamic when Hendo is the third party there. I think with Elliott being there, where Elliott can cut inside or outside, and he's been able to show now that he can take those shots from in front of the box. So it's kind of like creates a different dynamic, and I think in the long run, Mo will benefit from. So we should probably start heading over to the game. I gotta get two dogs to calm down now, not even just one, before they kick off. My nervousness, unfortunately, kind of passes on
They're,
to them when I go
they're
downstairs.
probably excited because Haaland has scored and they have him in in their fantasy football teams. That's why. And Gali doesn't probably.
I actually have Holland, and this is another thing I hate about fantasy because now, like, I don't know what the hell to think when somebody like that stores. But so I have no United. I was talking about this earlier in the Discord fan channel. I have no United guys on there, but I have kind of caved in and got the whiny face Jesus, who I despise, on there because he has done well. That game
Yeah,
is
but if
still
you watch
tied, by the way.
if you watched the Moneyball movie with Brad Pitt when he goes, what did he do? He gets on base. Jesus, he puts the ball in the net. That's why he's on my team as well.
Okay, let's head over to the game. What do you have for your final prediction for the score?
3-1 us.
3-1 us. I have 3-1 us actually as well. I'll stick with that prediction. You're with me on post match? If you don't pass out from the gym?
It depends how drunk I am, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll take you drunk as well.
This.
We'll take you drunk as well.
Okay.
Alan Walnut says 3-0. I know Michael Martin earlier this morning was saying like 2-1, kind of giving me a scare. But yeah, let's just get the 3 points. I really want to start building this momentum, then go worry about the Derby game and crushing those guys on Saturday. But let's get them. Alan One says, what time is the post match? Well, I don't know for Mecca. It depends on when he wakes up from being passed out, but we should be on instantly right after the game. On these like weekday games. On Mondays, it's kind of like a different ordeal because we kind of save everything for the podcast, but nothing to save today. Well, let's just go get these 3 points and we'll see you guys after the game.